time we gather like this, someone asks me, what's a Vesper? Vespers comes from the Latin word espera, which means evening. And so Vespers is a service of evening prayer. It comes from the old monastic cycle of prayers where they named each set of prayers for the time of day when they did it. Matins for morning, nones for noon, Vespers for evening, compline for night. And there were a few others mixed in there too that I don't remember the names of. But we hold Jazz Vespers about once a month during the year for those for whom Sunday morning doesn't work or isn't enough. And so we're glad that all of you are here. Last time we gathered, we solicited ideas for themes for future Jazz Vesper services, and we got lots of good suggestions, and we chose one of them tonight, wisdom and understanding. It seemed to fit because it's the season of graduations and commencements and all sorts of celebrations around the academic year. But also it seemed to fit because we're living in a time when we settle for easy answers and short bits, sound bites of wisdom, and we come together to seek a deeper wisdom and understanding. And so open your hearts and minds to all that we have to learn tonight together.
So where can wisdom be found? This is from Job 28. And at its beginning, Job seems to be a book about human suffering. By its conclusion, the true subject of the book emerges, God's sovereignty. In a matter of probably hours, Job had lost everything that was important to him except his wife and his own life. But he held fast to his integrity, determined to unravel the mystery of why he, a man who had done his utmost to live an upright life, was being treated by God as if he was a chief of sinners. If he was a sinner deserving divine punishment, he demanded his friends tell him what he had done. But they could not. He also asked the same of God and received silence in answer. The truth is, Job never received an answer as to why he suffered. But more importantly, he received a deeper understanding of God. Though Job had agreed that the wicked suffer, God explained nothing in his case, since he was righteous. So Job called on his friends to consider that maybe God's wisdom was beyond their comprehension. That's the theme of this chapter. The wisdom of God is not gained by natural or theoretical knowledge. What God does not reveal, we can't know. Oh, here's the reading. But where shall wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Mortals do not know the way to it, and it is not found in the land of the living. The deep says, it's not in me, and the sea says, it's not with me. It cannot be bought for gold, and silver cannot be weighed out as its price. It cannot be valued in the gold of Ophir, in precious onyx or sapphire. Gold and glass cannot equal it, nor can it be exchanged for jewels of fine gold. No mention shall be made of coral or crystal. The price of wisdom is above pearls. The price light of Ethiopia cannot compare with it, nor can it be valued in pure gold. Where then does wisdom come from? And where is the place of understanding? It is hidden from the eyes of all living and concealed from the birds of the air. Abaddon and Death say, we have heard a rumor of it with our ears. God understands the way to it, and he knows its place, for he looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens. When he gave the wind its weight and apportioned out the waters by its measure, when he made a decree for the rain and a way for the thunderbolt, then he saw and declared it. He established it and searched it out. And he said to humankind, surely the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding.
is the Ron Kobayashi Trio. Ron Kobayashi on piano. I'm going to do a song that's called The Land of Make Believe, but I tweaked it a little. And I call it The Land of I Believe. So just follow me. When you're feeling down and out, wondering what this world's about, I know a place that has the answer. It's a place where no one dies. It's a land where no one cries. And good vibrations always greet you. How I love when my thoughts run to the land of make-believe, where everything is good
was a German Lutheran theologian who came to this country as a refugee from Nazi Germany. He lost his position at the University of Frankfurt for defending his Jewish colleagues and students against anti-Semitic attacks. Tillich was deeply concerned as a Christian theologian and philosopher of religion about the rift within the modern world between the religious and the secular. And as a special instance of this rift between the religious and the secular, he was engaged with the question of atheism. Why is it that so many people in the modern period can no longer affirm the reality of God? In Tillich's view, the reasons have largely to do with bad theology on the part of the churches. Therefore, one should not see modern atheism as a deplorable situation, but rather as an opportunity to clear the ground for a recovery of the true and authentic meaning of the word God. To this end, he creatively used the metaphor of depth to retrieve what he took the authentic biblical and Christian meaning of the word God to be. I'm going to read some excerpts from a sermon of his called The Depth of Existence. Tillich prefaced his sermon with this verse from the Psalms. Out of the depths have I cried unto thee, O Lord. The words deep and depth are used in our daily life, in poetry and philosophy, in the Bible, and in many other religious documents to indicate a spiritual attitude. It may become of ultimate significance to us when we see what is implied in the use of terms like deep and depth. It may give us the impulse to strive for our own depth, our own spiritual life. Deep in its spiritual use has two meanings. It means either the opposite of shallow or the opposite of high. Truth is deep and not shallow. Suffering is depth and not height. Both the light of truth and the darkness of suffering are deep. But why is truth deep? And why is suffering deep? These questions shall guide our meditation. Why have people always asked for truth? Is it because they have been disappointed with the surfaces and have known that the truth which does not disappoint dwells well below the surfaces in the depth? We should be shocked to notice how little of our spiritual world is deeper than the surface, how little would be able to withstand a serious blow. Something terribly tragic happens in all periods of our spiritual life. Truths, once deep and powerful, discovered by the greatest geniuses through profound suffering and incredible labor, become shallow and superficial when used in daily discussion. And so, there can be no depth without the way to the depth. Truth without the way to truth is dead. Most of our life continues on the surface. We are enslaved by the routine of our daily lives, in work and pleasure, in business and recreation. We are conquered by innumerable hazards, both good and evil. We are more driven than driving. We do not stop to look at the height above us or to the depth below us. We are always moving forward, although usually in a circle, which finally brings us back to the place from which we first moved. We are in constant motion and never stop to plunge into the depth. We talk and never listen to the voices speaking to our depth and from our depth. We accept ourselves as we appear to ourselves and do not care what we really are. Like hit and run drivers, we We injure our souls by the speed with which we move on the surface. And then we rush away, leaving our bleeding souls alone. We miss, therefore, our depth and our true life. And it is only when the picture that we have of ourselves breaks down completely, only when we find ourselves acting against all the expectations, and only when an earthquake shakes and disrupts the surface of our self-knowledge, that we are willing to look into a deeper level of our being. The wisdom of all ages and of all continents speaks about the road to our depth. It has been described in innumerably different ways, but mystics and priests, poets and philosophers, simple people and educated people, all those who have experienced the road through confession, lonely self-scrutiny, internal or external catastrophes, prayer and contemplation, they have witnessed to the same experience. They have found that they were not what they believed themselves to be, even after a deeper level had appeared to them below the vanishing surface. That deeper level itself became surface when a still deeper level was discovered. This happening again and again, as long as their very lives, as long as they kept on the road to their death. The name of this infinite and inexhaustible depth and ground of all being is God. That depth is what the word God means. And if that word has not much meaning for you, translate it and speak of the depths of your life, of the source of your being, of your ultimate concern, of what you take seriously without any reservation. Perhaps, in order to do so, you must forget everything traditional that you have learned about God, perhaps even that word itself. For if you know that God means depth, you know much about divinity. You cannot then call yourself an atheist or an unbeliever. For you cannot think or say, life has no depth. Life itself is shallow. My life is surface only. If you could say this in complete seriousness, you would be an atheist. But otherwise, you are not. Because those who know about depth know about God.
Our next reading is from The Little Prince, Le Petit Prince. And Madame Janson, louder, okay. Madame Janson at South Torrance High School would be floored out of her mind that I remembered it, and I'm quoting it for you. But it has so much great wisdom in it. I highly recommend it in English, but even better in French if you can do it. The portion that we're going to be reading from today has to do with the pilot in this story who's landed in a great desert. And he goes on different adventures, and On one area, he meets the little prince. The little prince lives on a planet all by himself with his little rose, and he tends his rose with great love and care. But then as they travel, the little prince finds out that there are roses elsewhere in the planets, roses just like his. That makes him very upset. But then he meets the fox, and the fox explains to him just how special that rose is and why. And it has to do with the fact that the little prince has tamed the rose. And tame does not mean to own or to enslave. In this case, it means to create ties. We all have ties to one another. "Please tame me," said the fox. "I want to very much," the little prince replied, "but I haven't much time. I have friends to discover and a great many things to understand." "One only understands things that one tames," said the fox. "People have no more time to understand anything. They buy things all ready-made in the shops, but there is no shop anywhere where one can buy friendship. And so people have no friends anymore. If you want a friend, tame me." "What must I do to tame you?" asked the little prince. "Well, you must be very patient. First, you sit down a little distance from me in the grass, and I shall look at you out of the corner of my eye, and you will say nothing. Words are the source of misunderstandings. But you will sit a little closer to me every day." So the next day, the prince came back. The fox said, "It would have been better to come back at the same hour. If, for example, you come every day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then at 3 o'clock I shall begin to get happy. I shall feel happier and happier as the hour advances. At 4 o'clock I shall be jumping all about. I shall show you just how happy I am. But if you just come at any old time, I shall never know what hour my heart should begin to get ready to greet you. One must observe proper rites." "What is a rite?" asked the prince. "Those actions are also often neglected. They are what make one day different from another day, an hour different from another hour. There is a rite, for example, among my hunters. Every Thursday they dance with the village girls. So Thursday's a wonderful day for me. I can take a walk as far as the vineyards. But if the hunters danced at just any old time, I would never have a vacation." So the little prince tamed the fox. And when the hour of the prince's departure drew near, the fox said, "Oh, I shall cry." "It's your own fault," said the little prince. "I never wished you any sort of harm, but you wanted me to tame you." "Yes, that is so," said the fox. "But now you're going to cry." "Yes, that is so," said the fox. "It has done me good, and the color of the wheat fields will remind me of your golden hair." And then he added, "Go again and look at the roses. You will understand now that your little rose is unique in all the world. Then come back and say goodbye to me, and I will make a gift of a secret." The little prince went away to look again at the other roses. "You are not at all like my rose. As yet you are nothing. No one has tamed you, and you have tamed no one. You are like my fox when I first met him. He was only a fox like 1,000 other foxes, but I have made him into my friend. He is unique in all the world." And the roses were very embarrassed. "Your he said, but you are empty. One could not die for you. To be sure, an ordinary passerby would think that my little rose looked just like you. But my rose is more important than all the hundreds of roses, because it is she that I have watered, because it is she that I have put under glass, because it is she that I have sheltered, because it is for her that I've killed caterpillars, except one or two that we let become butterflies. Because it is she that I have listened to when she grumbled or boasted, or even sometimes when she said nothing. Because she is my little rose. And he went back to meet the fox. Goodbye, said the little prince. Goodbye, said the fox. And now, here is my secret, simple gift. On ne voit bien qu'avec le cœur. L'essentiel est invisible pour les yeux. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eyes. What is essential is invisible to the eyes, repeated the little prince, so that he be sure to remember. It is the time that you have wasted on your little rose that makes it so important. It is the time I have wasted on my rose, said the little prince, so that he would be sure to remember. People have forgotten this truth, but you must not forget it. You become responsible forever for what you obtained. You are responsible for your rose. I am responsible for my little rose.
On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you'll see who you are. On a clear day, how it will astound and the glow of your being outshines every star. You
Well, this wisdom thing just doesn't seem that simple. I somehow have the feeling that if somebody walked up to me and said, "Here, take it, you've got it," I wouldn't trust them from the beginning. In fact, each of the texts seems to say that it's about a quest. It's about a search more than a having. So I like to reinterpret the theme from the understanding and the wisdom that you can own to the understanding and the wisdom that we quest for. That seems like a far more interesting and realistic way of understanding this notion of the depth that Paul read from Tillich. But we don't do it completely alone. How can we pursue that search? Sometimes there's a wise person. That wise person in my life was a woman named Jane Goodall. Has anyone ever heard that name before? We had a chance to walk through a tropical forest in India, and I'll never forget the stories that she told. The one I remember most came up in the Little Prince. She said, "When I got to the preserve, I sat. And at first they were afraid of me. And then the next day, just like you read, I moved closer and closer. And I named them. So they weren't numbers, they were friends. And before I even got close, I knew each one." A wise woman whose lesson with chimpanzees gave me a sense of building those closer relationships. Sometimes there isn't a wise woman. Sometimes we have to do it on our own. I met a woman named Wan Wang in Wuhan. The first time I was there speaking at this Chinese university, I spoke of a spiritual quest, not God, that doesn't work very well in China, but a quest that we can be involved in. And I remember she came up and asked some sort of question. It was maybe, I don't know, a year and a half, and I was back at the same university, and this woman came out and she said, "I'm Juan, remember me?" She said, "I did what you said. And what I did was, I found a spot on this campus of 20,000 people. I normally feel alone, I don't know people, and there's a spot," and she described the spot to me, where I would sit, and in front of me was this little flower garden. And each day, at a certain time of day, I would come and I would sit there. I didn't know what I was looking for, but something came. Something came to me, and it's become a kind of depth, a core understanding. That wasn't a Chinese word, but it was something like that has led me forward. And that's the point I want to close with. Sometimes there isn't a wise person. Sometimes a church space or synagogue or mosque isn't a safe space, isn't the way that wisdom is imparted, though sometimes. But sometimes there's a place where we go to look for it. A forest in Northern California, a beach where we watch the sun go down, maybe in the arms of someone we love. And maybe we find or create sacred spaces. Wisdom isn't something you hold in your hand. At best, it's something that sort of bubbles up from that depth, bubbles up in a way that you can begin to see it. We understand truly only with the heart. Wisdom comes only through the heart. Understanding comes only through the heart.
Good afternoon, church. Okay, so I'm a black Southern preacher, so I need you to speak back to me. Good afternoon, church. Good evening. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Oh, what a privilege it must be to possess the knowledge that we cannot change, cannot manipulate, cannot control some situations on this perilous journey we call life. When thinking about being a recipient of wisdom, my mother's matriarchal guidance and the communal teachings of the mothering of my Black church communities during college and graduate school immediately comes to mind. First, my mother has these little pithy words of wisdom which Elaine Brown and her colleagues, author of the Little Black Book of Success, call Mamaisms. Sayings that your mother quickly tells you when you feel you need guidance. I have called and coined my mother's proverbial wisdoms odes to my mother. These are unconventional wisdoms that Mama Jackson generously spilled to us kids, which would cause us to laugh, cry, but now fearlessly cling to more seriously now that Mama Jackson has cancer that has possessed her brain and her breast. My personal favorite is the wisdom Mama Jackson gives when I'm in trouble. And it seems as if I'm behaving too rashly to get out of these troubled situations. She'd say, April Faye, you have to ease your hand out of the lion's mouth, girl. Ease. And she'd make a motion with her hands as to say she had her hand stuck in a ferocious beast's mouth. Next, when I think of being a recipient of wisdom, I think about receiving the ancient yet timeless knowledge of the Black church mothers. It's always a feeling of being a part of something larger, a sea of clouds, a cloud of witnesses, communal witnesses, a space that I fit really snug into. As a group of Black women reminded me that God will make a way, come on somebody, out of no way. Amen. When I'm struggling with family issues, academic challenges, racism and or sexism, I can count on a leathery soft hand of a mother, Flodina White, to touch my cheek and remind me of the proverbial wisdom of Psalm 46 and 5. God is within her. She will not fail. God will help her at the break of day. Retrospectively, these motherly sprinkles of Black women's magic have reminded me to be more diplomatic at times in my daily actions. And the world, April Faye, does not owe you anything. My oldest sister, Lakeitha, would say, more bees with honey, April, than with milk. These wisdoms have also given me a deeper sense of gratitude for my life and the resources, my theological education, for an example, that I know in the basement of my soul stands for me. I stand on the shoulders of great men and women, Black women who tilled fields that I did not harvest, that I harvest but did not till. I was reminded John 4 and 38. In John 4 and 38, April, I sent you to reap that for which you did not labor. Others have labored and you have entered into their labor. Finally, I know the importance of living the truth of these wisdoms when it comes to building a strong legacy and a space for educating my communities. For example, my foremothers and forefathers founded Payne College, a United Methodist historically Black college in Georgia that I attended directly after they were released from slavery for Black teachers and preachers. These founders of my denomination were called God's tender plan. They thought of me right after slavery, even fresh from the whips and the beatings. They thought of me. This touched me much more than any wisdom I could find in a text. My starting point for theological conversation is often scripture, but more so experience. After I graduated from Payne College, I boarded, I love to tell this story, I I boarded a Greyhound bus in Atlanta, sojourning to Claremont School of Theology in 2007 with my brown American Eagle backpack. My sister and my mom all accompanied me to the Greyhound station. I had my travel stipend from Claremont School of Theology in my backpack, and I didn't want to spend a penny of it because I didn't know where my next check would be coming from. So I boarded that bus with the faith of my ancestors. I have been the recipient of wisdom. I must continue the lasting legacy of Mama Jackson and my foremothers and forefathers who imparted the same wisdom, these same gentle whisperings of wisdom. Except my charge is a little different. I think that God may be calling me to think about the ways in which I can think theologically about how God is calling me to use African American folklorist writing, people like Zora Neale Hurston, in my theological writings. An African American female writer like Zora Neale Hurston, who was a folklorist and anthropologist and a renowned ethnographic storyteller in the 1930s. In my work with hip hop and spiritual resilience as a student of practical theology, I think about her stories and her myths. Although many readers objected to the use of African American dialect, I think that similar to Zora Neale, my stylistic choices, indeed my folklore and my writings, have impacted my academic experiences. I too will be the giver of wisdom by using African American folklore and myths and the stories that were taught by my foremothers and Mama Jackson as I begin to till the field of my academic journey. Thank you. God bless you, and may God bless the ancestors. Amen.
Well, I think it's time to pray. And again, we turn to the Psalms, or something like the Psalms. What if the darkness covers us and the day around us turns into night? Darkness is no problem for God because darkness is deep. You never sleep, God. You are always awake, always watching, always willing the world and its people to turn in the right direction. So tonight, God, will you comfort those who cannot sleep because of illness, or worry, or fear, or for reasons they don't understand. God, be near them. And tonight, God, will you be close to those who wait, patiently or impatiently, for a birth, or a death, or a visit, or for the pieces of the puzzle to finally come together. God, be near them. And tonight, God, will you be close to those who wonder, who look for inspiration, who long to be with the one that they love, who hope to recognize the right time to say, I'm sorry, or I love you, or even enough is enough. God, be near them. And God, listen to us as we share with you our joys, our sorrows, our discoveries, our quests, that we will take with us into this night. During this next song, we invite anyone who would like to come forward and light a candle as a sign of your prayer and your hope. now we go from this place to plunge ourselves into the depths, to find that deep wisdom, to keep searching, not to fear darkness because the darkness is deep, not to fear the light because it burns away the surface. And now, into your hands, God, we commit ourselves, our souls, our bodies, our minds, our futures, for all things come from you, and all things are in your care. Help us to be your people. And now we close with the New Zealand Prayer Book's version of the prayer Jesus taught. Eternal Spirit, Earth Maker, Pain Bearer, Life Giver, Source of all that is and that shall be, Father and Mother of us all, loving God in whom is heaven, the hallowing of your name echo through the universe, the way of your justice be followed by the peoples of the world. Your heavenly will be done by all created beings. Your commonwealth of peace and freedom sustain our hope and come on earth. With the bread we need for today, feed us. In the hurts we absorb from one another, forgive us. In the temptation and test, strengthen us. From trials too great to endure, spare us. From the grip of all that is evil, free us. For you reign, the glory, the power, that is love, now and forever. Amen.
We want to thank Cal Jackson once again for sponsoring the music today. We've enjoyed once again our spending time with you again. We want to leave you with one little thing while you're leaving right today. Just talk amongst yourselves today about what you heard. Just make the talk